works for a wool broking firm, Australian Wool Network, that was formed in the 1990s, and he's been our broker since 1999. And he's been more than a broker, he's been a mentor to us. We're just sort of small fry compared to many of his other clients. I mean, he's got clients that have got, tens of thousands of sheep. But he's sort of always gone above and beyond to help us produce better wool. And he knows what style of wool we're trying to grow. So over the years, he's helped us a lot with our sheep classing and selection. He sees a lot of wool enterprises in his job. And if he sees something that might help us get better, he's always got his ear to the ground and he lets us know. Quite a few years ago, he sort of noted how Sarah has a bit of a natural feel for the wool, so he encouraged her to go and get her classer qualifications. And that's been a great help to us because it means we don't have to fluff around trying to find a classer at shearing time. And his advice on ram selection has really helped us improve our flock standard and hone in on the type of wool that suits our fairly light country. Wool is usually sold by open cry auction, but quite a bit's also sold under a variety of different style contracts, including forward contracts and all sorts of ways of doing it. And in the past we've used both, but with COVID it's been difficult for the Italian mills to offer contracts. So this year we'll sell at auction. And at auction, this is where Harold's relationship with the buyers and his intimate knowledge of the market is sort of like gold to us. Because when our wool has been tested and it's available for sale, Harold will give us a market appraisal of its estimated value a few days prior to the auction. And then he seeks instruction from us as to whether we meet the market or we pass in lots that don't meet a reserve that we agree with Harold. Usually we meet the market because cash flow is pretty important at that time of year because you've had to shell out for shearing and all those sorts of things. But there have been occasions when Harold's taken it upon himself to pass in a lot and then he's gone and obtained a better price by private treaty with one of the bidders. So that's why we really value our relationship with the broker. He's just a genuine good guy that's trying really hard to make sure that our business is a better business than when we started, and it's just been fantastic knowing Harold. In the last video I didn't really show the shearing. You can see Joey taking the belly off the sheep and now he's cleaning up in between the legs. Got to be careful of the udder there, doesn't want to knock a teat off. A couple of blows here to open up the back leg there, and notice how he's cleaning up the points, getting the wool right off the end of the leg. And that's a fairly long tail there, which is helpful for fly control, which that's done in the 1930s and 40s, but it's a bit of a pain for the shearer. Knocking off the wigs around the head there, and now opening up the neck. Got to be very careful through here, obviously, you don't want to cut them at all. And there's wrinkles on the neck, well there can be depending on the sheep. And then a few more blows on the side of the neck to get that off, and the front shoulder there, and then coming on to the long blow. Because he's taken fairly long blows when you open up the back leg, these long blows, not a really long blow, it's fairly short. It's the modern trend, a bit longer than the old days. This old ew's got some horns, so that makes it a bit tricky around the head. Just cleaning up the neck there, sorting out around the horns. Make sure you don't cut off an ear or take a ear tag off. That's always a bit of a hazard for a shearer. And then he's starting to do the last front shoulder, the second front shoulder. Keeping those boots nice and clean. And then down the whipping side. And notice how the fleece has fallen off in such a way that it can be picked up quite easily by the board. A few more blows and he'll be done. You can't really see him doing the blows down the back leg, but he has to be careful he doesn't hit a hamstring. And this old girl decides, well, I don't want to go down that chute. Yeah, there we go. Good job, Joey. Yeah, beauty. And then he goes in and gets another one, and the process starts again. It's a really physically demanding job, shearing. Those are 50, 55, 60 kilo sheep, and they're heavy in lamb, and you're pulling them out. They sometimes wriggle and won't sit right. It's hard on your body. And when the season's on, the guys go hard. I mean, these guys have been working, I think they said they might have been working 28 days straight or something like that. So they're very fit, and they work hard and deserve every cent that they earn. So I did try a shearer cam by mounting the camera on Jason's head, but the trouble was I didn't have the camera pointing in the right direction, and so it was a bit of an epic fail. But anyway, maybe in a future shearing I can readjust that and show you what it looks like from the shearer's point of view. But ultimately, it's all about the wool. And this year's been one of those years where most things have gone right, and we're very happy with how the wool's come off. It's really bright and well conditioned, and there's only been one tender fleece. A tender fleece is sort of one where you get a weakness in the stable, which means it breaks when you tug it apart, pull it apart. And tenderness can be caused by a number of things, lambing stress or a sudden change in nutrition, like if you're going from a paddock of green feed to dry feed or vice versa, or if the sheep gets an illness of some description, there might be a break in the wool. And it's always very difficult to tell whether you're going to get a break in the wool. You can't really figure it out during the growing season. It's only after you've shorn the sheep and you've pulled the wool and you look back over your records and you say, okay, well, it was this event or that event that caused the break in the wool, and you try and learn from that. Anyway, we've had a good year this year. Doesn't appear to have any tender. When the wool goes down for testing, it'll be tested, it'll be pulled apart by a machine, and they will work out the strength of the fibres. We're hoping it'll be over 40 newtons. And the testing will also tell whether or not the fibres break in the middle of the staple, or at the tip, or at the base of the base of the staple. The processors obviously would prefer it not break in the middle. They prefer it to break it ultimately have its weakness at the tip or the bottom of the staple. This year we're going to get a bale of our best wool and enter it in a competition that's run by the Zegna Corporation of Italy. This competition aims to get producers to put together a line of some bales of their very best wool, and we're going to enter not really in the expectation that we would win or even place top 10, which in itself would be a huge honour, but more so that we can learn and work out what it is that we need to do to improve our wool quality. Also, Zegna have been really strong supporters of our type of wool, and we think it's the right thing to do to support them back by entering the competition. So what you're seeing here is Sarah carefully classing our best fleeces to ensure a bale of even wool. The trick is to match like with like, so that there will be some really nice fleeces that get rejected, not because there's any fault with them, it's just that they're slightly different in characteristics to the other fleeces that have been selected for the bale. And the final product is a pressed up bale. And the Shawnees are back in their paddock.